All right, I can do this. I'm gonna rev myself up. Do 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 do. This is The Mud Peddlers, a podcast where two nerdy ceramic artists share the behind the scenes of their worlds of clay. We are your hosts, Lindsey M Dillon.
And I am Donte of Earth Nation.
This week on The Mud Peddlers, we're doing something kind of, intense.
We're talking about, it's a little bit deep.
It's deep.
A little bit deep. Talking about finance.
We're talking about finances, and we're talking about finances because over the years of doing this, there's been a couple times that people have reached out to me and kind of intimated that, like, the reason that you're able to, like, do this full time is because you're, like, really organized and you're doing things. And I'm like, bro, no, that is not the case. Like, I wish that was the case, but no, there's like other folks who have also asked, like, oh, how do you do, like, essentially, how do you do what you do? And I think there's a lot that goes into that that's not exactly related to ceramics.
Yes, 100%,
and,
yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. Like, we're going to be discussing in various levels of detail, like our income sources, how we navigate housing, healthcare, retirement, and, like, savings. So, if at all, in this late-stage capitalist nightmare.
Late-stage capitalism, kind of lit. If it's done right, we're not doing it right.
I don't think late-stage capitalism is ever lit, unless...
It's supposed to be a trickle-down system. It's a keep all the in for us and nobody else gets a system. Yeah. It's supposed to be, if you have more, the people below you also get more, and that's not what's happening.
That is not what's happening. So, we're gonna, let's dive right in. I'm very nervous.
Why are you so nervous?
I don't know, because it's like, okay, so like for real, the reason that like this is a very nerve-wracking topic for me is because like it taps into a lot of that like imposter syndrome stuff. Oh. Because like when I tell y'all how much I actually make, it ain't like, like it's kind of one of those things where it's like I'm able to do what I do, yes, and I wouldn't consider myself a starving artist. Yeah. But that's because there's a lot of other things that have like privileges that I was born into, and then just circumstances in my life that make it so that I'm not a starving artist. Right. And like I also don't want to like downplay the work that I've put into my career, because it's like, yeah, I do work really hard, and I wouldn't be where I am without that hard work. Yeah. But there's also a ton of privilege and other circumstances that make it so that I am where I am, and where, like, to some degree, like, where you are, too.
No, 100% for me. I got into very lucky circumstances, because the person I got with was kind of, like, set, and she was like, just marry me. And I was like, dude, okay. And then and now I'm in a house, like, I can't put a kiln in an apartment, really. They don't let you, so, that's kind of how that started there. Yeah. But just to start out, let me go over some of my finances, right? So like how much it takes me to make pottery is dependent on how much clay costs per month. Mm-hmm. And then it depends. I'm assuming this is after classes and studio fees. So if you go to a studio to get your stuff fired, you have to include those in. Yes. I don't include those in, because every time I fire my kiln, it's about $10. Okay, yeah. And that's only because I have the machine that tells me how much it is. Right. So I know how much it is for my electricity. But if we're getting serious, since I do my work out of my garage, the studio costs for me are as much as my rent/mortgage. Mm-hmm. Because you're essentially able to say, like, because there's something that has to do with, like, if you have a dedicated space for your work that allows you to essentially list, like, I think you can either put your full rent, or it's like a percentage of like the overall space within your house. Again, and to preface, we are not tax lawyers. Like, everything we're discussing is from our own personal experiences and is not to be taken as legal advice. So just want to put that out there. My tax guy asks me how much my mortgage is. I tell him, and then he says, where do you run your quote unquote business out of? And then I go, my garage. And he goes, is your garage attached to your house? And I go, it is. He goes, so it looks like you pay about $2,000 a month for your garage.
Yes.
That's what that looks like to me, a tax person legally. And I go, yes, sir. And he goes, okay, good.
Yep.
And like, that's what that is, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have to pay for space in a studio because I have my own studio space in my garage that I built over time. It gets a little better every single year. Cleaner, things like that, a little more safe.
Yeah. Or since you talk about your, like, not having to pay studio fees because of you're able to work from your house, do you want to, like, share a little bit, like, how you got into that situation and, like, how you and Abel manage your, like, finances that way?
Oh, I got with a white woman.
Yeah.
And she's one of the cat ones.
Yes.
And so she has a house to keep the cats.
Well, she has before becoming a full-time parent, she used to work at a lab, right? So yes. Her job had a decent amount of income, right?
Her parents did pay for her to go to school, and she did get a degree off of it, yes.
Nice.
Yes, and so her degree allowed her to get a job that pays her more than clearly what minimum wage would be.
Right.
She, in fact, made as much money as I do now, but I have to do 3 or 4 different jobs to make that amount of money.
Right.
So she just, like, went to work, came home, and made that amount of money, and that was it. But, like, when I got home from my 9-to-5 job, I had to do, like, an hour of video editing and, like, an hour of pottery.
Yes.
And then I have to make lesson plans for my class.
Yeah.
And that's, like, 2 or 3 hours. So it's definitely worth it to have a degree, but I will say she did not get a job in the sector that she was in. So I just want to put this out there. This is a side point. Almost everyone who has a degree that I know of never gets a job in their chosen degree. Oh. They just go, I have a degree, and the bank is like, okay, well, you could be a banker. And they're like, but I'm a biologist or a psychiatrist. And they're like, do you want the job or not? And then they're a bank teller.
Yeah.
That's most of the people I know.
That's fair. That's very fair.
I like that.
So you had been, when you guys bought the house, it was, so Abel had been working in her field. You were building your ceramics career and also working full-time at your 9-to-5, or not really 9-to-5, at your...
9-to-5. We could say 9. I call it a 9-to-5, but that's because I work regular hours.
Yeah.
It's not actually from 9 to 5 p.m.
Yes. Are we allowed to say what industry you work in?
They know I'm a chef.
Oh, they know you're a chef. Okay, good. I couldn't remember.
I can cook, that's why I'm fat.
Yeah. You beefy.
I am beefy. I'm definitely muscular and fat. I'm a doughboy for sure.
Doughboy!
Yeah.
So you had been working full-time, like 40 plus hours, right?
Easily. I actually tuned that down because, and this is going to go into it later, is that I used to pay for health insurance through my job.
Oh, okay.
And it was like $80 a paycheck.
Okay.
And then one day they raised it to like $140 a paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And they said, well, just get on Covered California. Covered California, in fact, is very minimal, right? So I technically got paid more money to take one day off of work per week.
Right.
And not get health coverage through my job, but instead through Covered California because I live here.
Yes.
So that being part of my finances is very like, I get Covered California, and that takes care of my health benefits.
Yes. And I think we can go into that a little bit more detail, too, when we, get there as well. I kind of, for the sake of my brain and, making sure that we get through everything, I kind of want to, do, this is our segment on housing, this is our segment on healthcare.
Sure,
but yeah. So then it was your income, Abel's income, you didn't have a kid at that time, and then her late mother. Okay, so there were, and she... What did she do for a living?
She was a teacher, and she taught in a very low-income area.
Okay.
She specifically chose a field in which, it's hard to say without sounding disrespectful, but, she chose a place to teach in which there are a lot of immigrants. And, a lot of her kids did not speak English. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just, one type of person. She had, multiple people who didn't speak English. She chose the lowest systematic class of person to teach, and because of that, they got subsidized by the government a lot.
Nice.
So she got paid pretty well for what she did.
That's good. Because, it's given the way our society is structured, it's not exactly, or it rather actively makes life more difficult for those people.
Yeah, she tried really hard to make a difference in those kids' lives, to be honest. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I will say, every day she came home and talked about how the parents aren't doing anything, so it starts with y'all. On God.
There's a lot of different factors that go into it. Parenting is definitely a part of that.
There's a lot of different factors, and they're all generational, baby. Mm-hmm. Well, not all of them, but a lot.
A lot of them are generational.
A lot of them are generational.
Yeah.
If you're not the parent who's like, we're not doing this anymore, then your kid has to now do that.
Yeah. Well, that also is easier to do if you're in a society that gives you those options.
Very true.
So.
Very true. The socioeconomic ladder has been favorable to one type of person for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Wonder who that could be.
I don't know.
Huh.
If you read a couple history books, it might show.
It's a great mystery.
It's a mystery.
Yeah. Anyway.
And they all do pottery.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so you had three separate incomes. Going into buying the house.
Yes. Which was almost not enough, to be honest.
Right.
Because we live in California.
Yeah. Okay, so you and Abel were married at this point?
No, we weren't married at this point. We got married on like her 3rd month of pregnancy.
Okay.
Just because evidently there was something legal with our child. They were like, if they're born out of wedlock, then something. And we were like, well, we don't really care if we're getting married. And then one of our friends were like, your taxes are up. Mm-hmm. If you get, up. If you get married. I'm just
meaning you know, better?
But like, you get money for getting, and I was like, well, if the state wants to know who I'm sleeping with and they give me money for doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is what that is.
Yeah. So. Low key. Not that you have to be. Yeah. Anyway, it's.
I'm very anti-marriage, but they make it like they incentivize marriage essentially.
Yeah.
The punishment mechanic is also deep, but like they incentivize the crap out of having kids.
Okay, so you guys hadn't been married. Who secured the loan for the house?
Her mother.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually just figured that all out because we went through the paperwork.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But the house is the house is kind of a gateway to talk about because realistically speaking, if you're doing pottery, you essentially live in a house, have someone else's house to put your kiln and your equipment, or you're going to a studio. There's very, very, very few of you who have a kiln in your apartment. Yeah. And if you do, it's not like a kiln. It's like a tester kiln that you plug into the wall.
Or you end up in a situation like me where like I have the studio as the converted garage in my mom's house, but my mom rents the house. Right. So, because it's so funny. I feel like we're doing like an Icelandic saga. We're going back all through the family histories and what we all are and what we do. But so my mom is a professor an adjunct professor at Sac State, and she rents this house, and she just recently started getting Social Security, so that helps. But we, again, really lucked out because the house that we're in is below, or the house rather, because I don't live here, just for in case listeners don't know, I live with my partner in another that's kind of another thing. I'll go into that in a second. But basically, so the house that my mom rents she rents it at like below market rate. So that in general is really good for just like our family in general. Mm-hmm. And then we also were lucky enough that the landlady didn't care that we put in the electrical to like be able to run the kiln. Okay. And didn't mind that we like added storage space in the garage. So it's like we ended up in that weird space where we don't own our home, but I don't have to go to a studio to produce work.
Right. And this is also not an apartment whatsoever.
Yeah, no. It's a house.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of the gateway, is that like if you want to own your own kiln, you almost have to not be a homeowner, but have to rent or have a house. Yeah. Essentially, which is, hard. Yeah. Right now it's really, really hard.
It is really hard, yeah.
And then on top of that, you have to have money for glazes, especially if you're not already making money off of pottery. And then you have to have money for clay, and then materials, and you have to cleaning supplies and things of that nature, because hopefully you're not sweeping in your studio. Yeah. I mean, I do, but you should.
Yeah, I do too, but you should.
Yeah, I do.
I'm better now about wearing a mask. I could put on my N95 from the pandemic years, basically, to make that a little bit better if I do sweep. But
I have a good OSHA mask, but I only essentially wear it when I'm making like large batches of glazes.
Oh yeah.
Because if I'm making small batches, I'm putting the fan behind me and just like gonna let it blow.
Yeah. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. Yeah. Going back to the housing thing a little bit, the other thing that makes my life easier is that the apartment that Cody and I are in is like way, way below market rate. Like we live in I don't know, it's like, I mean, you've been to the apartment, right?
Yeah,
like it's maybe 500 square feet, if that?
It's not that big.
Yeah, it's small, but
you go there to sleep and shower and yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's not like that. It's not like that small. It's not like, oh yeah, I only go there to sleep and shower. Like it feels big enough. It honestly kind of reminds me of like when you see videos of like apartments in Japan. Like it has that kind of like small feel to it, but it's it's great for Cody and I. I mean, like, honestly, our biggest issue is that we're running out of space for cosplay stuff. But we only pay $708 in rent. And that water is covered. We still have to pay like SMUD and PG&E or, you know, like electricity and gas and stuff. Yeah. But in terms of the rent itself, like just over $700 is like crazy cheap.
There's somebody listening to this right now, like that's a lot of money. We do have to remember, not only do we live in California, we live near the capital. And if you go down the street from this street right here, there's we call them like the Fab 40s. I think.
Oh, yeah. The Fab 40s, that's more like East Sac, but yeah.
They're like where Arnold Schwarzenegger used to live. Yeah. They are some of the most expensive houses in the nation, other than like upper class, like Elon Musk type people houses. You know, like.
In terms of neighborhoods.
Yeah, in terms of neighborhoods.
Like, yeah, these are like houses that are probably easily worth like $2 million.
Yeah, you know when you ever see the Hunger Games?
Yeah.
You know when you go to like District 0, 1, 2, you know,
yeah.
This is easily District 3. Easily.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 if you go to our neighborhood.
Yeah.
I've never seen a District 1 place. But, like, the kind of messed up thing is that you have to be, like, above District 5 to have a kiln. To have a kiln in your house, you have to have a house first. And that's a major gateway. That's a major, like, you need... It's like having a car before you have a job. Yeah. So you need a job to buy a car.
Right,
It's one of those.
Yeah, actually, speaking of which, that's another thing that, like, in terms of putting together my financial picture, that's actually something that has also made my financial picture less stressed, is that I don't actually own a car. And admittedly, I also don't have a license, which isn't good, because I'm very much going the way of Sir David Attenborough, because that man, as old as he is, still does not have his driver's license, which makes me happy. I'm like, all right, I'm not just, you know, perpetually putting things off. I'm like Sir David Attenborough.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
Cars suck.
Yeah, they do. And they're expensive. And I'm really glad, like, when I've thought about, like, and that's the other thing, too, like, again, talking about, like, privilege and, like, luck and stuff, is that I am lucky enough that I live somewhere where I don't need a car. Like, my mom's house that she rents is literally a 5-minute bike ride away from my apartment.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, super, super nice. And I'm able to, because my mom has a car and is amazingly supportive, like, instead of always having to, like, have like supplies from like Alpha Fired Arts delivered to the studio and having to pay those shipping fees, like when we're like running errands together, we'll like go out to Alpha and like pick some stuff up. Yeah. So that like helps saves on some of the fees and some of the things where having a car would be more necessary. That being said, I will probably in the next few years need to more seriously look at getting a car, because I want to do more conventions that could potentially be a little farther away. Like at this point, like going to San Jose for Fanime, if I'm selling there, that's kind of a lot to like ask of my mom, right? To be like, yeah, Mom, can we just like do this whole big trip? So, but that is actually something else that like, especially when I was still kind of working part-time because let's see, like, and again, some of this information is on my website, but I just feel like it's good to go through. When I first graduated from UC Santa Cruz, I worked part-time jobs, first at an olive oil shop, and then at a cafe, and I had some other like kind of random other art-related jobs in between, but mostly it was those two. And when I was doing that, like that was definitely like not owning a car and not having to make those payments definitely made it so I didn't have to work as many hours in those part-time jobs, and that allowed me more time to build my ceramics career. Right. Yeah. And on top of that, the year that my sister passed away, it was so funny. I was like, oh my God, this like, what is it? You know, misery comes in threes. The 3 never showed up, which is great. But within like a month, my sister passed away and then I got laid off from my job. Damn. Yeah, it was rough. It was
because
rough.
of COVID?
No, not because this was 2016.
They just didn't like you.
This was 2016.
They hated you.
No, they liked me. So spicy.
Sorry.
No. The business was just not doing super great. Right. So they were like, hey, we gotta scale back, and you know. So when that happened, I was lucky enough that my family was like, you know what, this has been a really time. If you want to take some time off, we'll cover like your baseline expenses and you can have some time to grieve and just focus on ceramics. So I was lucky enough to have about almost a year where my family fully supported me, which is like crazy lucky.
Yeah, of course. So, it's always good to have a support system. Yeah. But as far as like, if you were just alone, it'd be, I would say, damn near impossible. Yeah. Realistically. If I didn't have a house that, like, my wife and her mother procured before I got my kiln, I just would not have a kiln. I would still be going to a studio. I would still have to share it with that one. You know that person in the studio. You know. You still have to share it with that one person. You're lucky if you don't know. There's always one person in the studio who's just extra.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so we've gone over housing and stuff. Can we talk about like our overall incomes and looking at where our income sources come from?
Sure. I do have a question though. Yeah. We're going on like personal story stuff, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But like, are we talking about numbers or personal? Because like, or do you want to do both? Or
like... I think let's maybe start out with numbers. And again, I know we talked about this a little bit before we started recording that like I'm a bit more okay sharing specific numbers.
Yeah.
I know that you're less comfortable with that. So basically just whatever you feel comfortable sharing the numbers for, let's start with that and then go to like kind of like personal story stuff because I think that's related. So
I can give them right now. Okay, so for my personal finances, luckily for me, the house is kind of like settled. Like I got that handled. So the $2,000 in mortgage every month is how much it costs to just stay in the garage. Pretty much. That's essentially my overhead. So that essentially covers like the electricity and things of that nature, right? But as far as everything else, for the longest time, my jobs have essentially covered the materials that I have. So like my clay, paid for by my job, my 9-to-5 job. My glazes, 9-to-5 job. Glaze materials, 9-to-5 job. Sponges, 9-to-5 job. The wheel that I bought for $400 7 years ago, 9-to-5 job, right? After I bought all of those things, that's when I started to get Patreon. And I did it like on a whim. Somebody was like, I like your work. I wish I could support you, but you don't make enough work to buy because I didn't have a store at that point. So she was like, can I give you like $5 a month through this program called Patreon? I signed up for it. And then one of my other friends was like, you should start a YouTube channel. And I was like, no. And then the Trump thing happened.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, now I'm angry, so I'm going to. And I made the channel, and then people started supporting me through there. And then through that support, I then bought my kiln, which was almost 3 or 4 Gs. And then I had to set up the electricity, which was another G, right? So without them, I wouldn't have anything. As of now, it makes, I want to say, about $700 a month from my Patreon.
The Patreon? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Which isn't like a huge amount, but I think I need to tighten it up a little more.
How do you mean?
Well, because I offer so many things, and then sometimes I just forget the things. I'm like, oh yeah, level 5, I'll do a live cast with you every 2 weeks. And then like I have baby problems, and I'm like, so I can't do a live cast.
Yeah.
So I have to offer them things essentially that come along the way. So like I'm developing glazes right now. I have to make a tier where like, okay, you're in on the glaze development. At like tier 5, I'm going to tell you everything about this glaze development. And hopefully that gives you something that most other people don't get, so that you feel like you're a valued patron.
Yeah.
But that's essentially where my value comes from them giving me that $700 whatever every single month. YouTube itself, it depends on the month, but it can vary in between $300 and $500 a month. And that goes into an account which I never touch. I've just never touched that account. Like Golden One pretty much always was like, do you want to do something with this money? And I'm like, no. Put it in a money market. Don't touch it.
Yeah. Ever. Wait, so is it actually invested or is it in like a savings account?
It's in a savings account, but they call it a money market. The difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know the difference.
No,
right?
I don't actually. What's the?
So like, there's a certain percentage of money they give you every month for having money in your savings account. A money market is essentially where you say, I want to keep it there for a long time, and they go, okay, if you want to keep it, if you really are keeping it there, we'll heighten the percentage. So I think it's like 1% of all of my money every year I get back.
Oh,
so
okay.
1% of like, let's say there's $50,000 in there.
Gotcha.
1% of that they put into the account.
Oh,
and then after a certain amount of money, it goes to 2%. So I think after $100,000, it goes to 2%. They put back into that account every year. Yeah, it's wild. It's kind of like investing.
Yeah,
but it's really just your savings account to a higher.
It's safer, yeah, because the thing with investing, and again, we'll get into that a little bit later when we get into like retirement and stuff. But yeah, the thing that's tricky about investing is like that money is not actually yours. Like the stock market could crash, and then you're out of luck.
100%. But it does look more attractive to have more money in savings accounts for the people that hold the money at the bank. And I think that's what they're doing. I don't know anything about this, by the way. But I will say, I think me having money in my account makes them as a bank look more impressive to like shareholders and like chair people. So I think what happens is that's like, ooh, look how much money we have. Ooh, we'll give you some pennies if you keep your money with us. Ooh, look at, and the chairman are like, oh, you must be doing good. You have so much money. I shall invest more in you. And they're like, yes. We incentivized our people to keep money with us. And they kept it there. And that impressed us. I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
All I know is they want me to keep money in there and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
And it makes me more money. And then I make in between like I'll say an average of like $200 and $500 every month from teaching my classes.
Okay.
Because every student pays a certain amount of money. I have to split that 50%. Mm-hmm. So in my
50% goes to IMCO.
Yes.
Just clarifying.
And they do advertisement for me and whatnot.
That's
so
nice.
And they're cool. They set up the classes, the glazes. They kind of let me have free reign from. Mm-hmm. Like I donated a 2-gallon bucket of pink glaze to them, and they're like, yeah, whatever, go ahead, do it.
Nice.
Yeah, and I brought like some Amico glazes, and they were like, we don't care. Mm-hmm. They were like, you do whatever you want with that class, and I'm like, oh. You know?
Yeah.
I'm a little power hungry now.
That's awesome.
But they essentially, like, every person I get in there is $100 a month for me.
Okay.
So, like, there were 6 students this month, so they're going to give me $600. Mm-hmm. And then next month, we'll figure out how many students there are there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's essentially all my sources of income. It's job, Patreon, YouTube, selling my work is another one.
Yeah, how much do you actually make from... And if you, off the top of your head, if you can break this up, if not, then just like a lump sum. But I'm curious the difference between like online sales versus in-person sales.
Online sales are almost exactly the same amount as in-person sales.
Okay. It's just like spread out over a longer period of time?
Well, no, it kind of equals out because every single package I ship to you is $10 pretty much in shipping costs. Mm-hmm. So like the packing peanuts, the Ran Pack, the little ring I put around the cups to make sure it doesn't break, buying the boxes themselves. I still have some old boxes I need to get rid of, but like I'm going to buy new boxes soon. Those of course cost money to develop the size. So
how much do you make from like approximately from in-person and online sales?
Well, so here's the thing. I make about like 3 from online sales.
3,000?
But almost
a month?
Not a month. No.
Oh, okay.
It comes in like every 4 months or so. It depends on whenever I do the upload, right? But like, because I have to pay all the shipping fees and whatnot, and I have to do all the work and the materials that go with it, it still, essentially, there's a middleman that not taxes me, but they take their cut.
Right.
So I gotta pay USPS, and then I gotta pay Stripe, which is, they take a little bit of money every time you buy something from me. And then I gotta pay for packing materials. So even if I made like $3,000...
That's gross income, not like net income.
Right. So even when I make $3,000, if I make $2,000 at an event, it's still basically the same amount. Because I'm paying so much money to ship it to you. Mm-hmm. But paying for the table and showing up and then just handing you the item is a little bit less money, realistically, depending on how many items I sell. So I would say that selling stuff online and in person are essentially the same amount.
Okay.
And every time I do it, it's in between about $2,000 and $4,000.
Okay. So...
$4,000 is like a good...
Every like 4 months?
Every 4 months.
Okay, so 4...
It's like $1,000 a month, I guess.
Okay, so overall gross income, you make about $12,000 a year from your pottery, like just selling pottery, both in person and online, like together?
I'd say that, yeah.
Okay.
Probably, yeah, which honestly is about half as much as the money that I make at work. My job pays me relatively well, especially because it's been going up. The price of minimum wage has been going up. Mm-hmm. So, like, I get a little more money every year.
Yeah.
Of course, inflation. But, like, because of that, every time I look at a paycheck, I'm like, wow, this pretty much paid me just as much as it would in these 2 weeks if I sold pottery all day long.
Nice.
And I was good at selling pottery.
Okay, so you make about, and again, this is just gross income, like pre-taxes.
Yeah, okay.
So, how much do you make from your job as a chef?
So my job as a chef?
Let's bring out the calculator. 21,600.
There you go.
Okay.
That's how much. That's like after taxes.
Oh, that's after taxes.
Yeah, I take home about like $850 to $800 every 2 weeks, and that's like after they've taken out the taxes, after they've taken out their share. That's how much I get.
Okay.
My pay stub says $850 on it. I get $850 in my hand.
Gotcha. Okay. So So you make about 24,000, yeah, but that's like after taxes and stuff.
Stuff, and then my pottery job, right? Let's just assume I've been having my pottery job. Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of want to do like the math of like let's add it all up and see. Yeah. So okay.
So let's say I get paid $400 every month for my pottery teaching job.
Okay.
And then let's say YouTube pays me $300 every month, because that's like the lowest end of what they ever pay me.
Okay.
$100 every month. Okay, and then let's say Patreon pays me $700.
And then from pottery sales...
So I would make $1,400 a month if I did not sell pottery right now.
That's awesome. Okay. So then selling pottery...
If I do sell pottery, which happens every 4 months...
We estimated about $1,000 a month, right?
It's about $1,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your take home from your job is $1,600? You said $1,600 a month?
Yeah, it's about $1,600 a month.
Okay. So let's do 4,000. So that's about $4,000 a month is about $48,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. That's not bad. I think anywhere over $40,000 a year, at least I've been told, is like okay as a singular person. My problem is that it comes in waves.
Yeah, well, you're also not a singular person. You're like, you have a kid and a partner.
Well, I'm not a singular person in that, like, I have someone to financially back me up in the form of my partner.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, if I was a singular person with a kid, that would not be the number it is.
Yeah.
Even over $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
That would not be the number.
And honestly, again, like, that's the thing that's rough is, like, in California, like, that's still not a lot of money. It sucks, but that's actually not a lot of money.
In Texas, I'd be rich, though.
Yeah, certain parts of Texas, at least.
But then I'd have to live in Texas.
Then you have to live in,
And then I'd have to,
Then you'd have to live in a state that makes it very difficult to have control over your own body as a person who is capable of reproducing.
Do you think I could sneak into a sundown town and they wouldn't say anything?
Yeah, you could pass.
You think I could pass?
Yeah.
If I cut my hair real short?
Yeah.
And I tell my name's Zach?
Yeah. You could pass as a Zach.
Do you think I can marry one of their daughters and have a kid, and when it comes out a little darker than usual, they're like, what in the hell?
Oh my god.
Because that's how they sound.
And by the way, ultimately, no shade on Texans. It's just, I think if you're listening to this, you probably know by now that Donte and I are pretty liberally aligned there, like, overall, so it's like, I'm more...
liberal black-pilled, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Although, if you live in a sundown town and you love that you.
Yeah, no, that.
Suck a
that. No. If you don't know what a sundown town is...
If you don't know what a sundown town is, you're probably in the group of people who don't live in one. Mm-hmm. But also, if you do know what a sundown town is, you're probably either very aware of your own history, or you're just black. Yeah. One of the two are a high probability.
Yeah. All right, okay, so I guess I'll go through some of those numbers for myself. So overall, as like an estimate, just looking at my like taxes, I make about $25,000 a year.
Okay.
Like, and that varies.
From pottery by itself?
No, that's everything, bro.
Oh, everything?
That's everything. Well, honestly, mostly because I don't really do a lot. I don't make a lot outside of my income from pottery. I don't really teach. I used to kind of a little bit with like Verge Center for the Arts. Like I taught one class before the pandemic, but most of my income is all pottery sales. Like I make about $200 a month from Patreon, but I don't have a YouTube. I don't really teach. We forgot to talk about commissions, because that's another area where we both make money.
Those are almost zero for me.
Yeah.
I haven't taken a commission like 2 years. I just started.
No. We work for
you're right.
T-Cozy. T-Cozy counts as a commission. But yeah, for the most part, like T-Cozy is the only folks that I do like commissions for.
They keep coming back.
Yeah, they're awesome.
We're
very happy that they do.
They get what we give them, and then 3 months later they're like, "Can you make more?"
And we're like, "Okay."
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, so since I don't have income coming from YouTube, most of the income that I make is from selling pottery. And I think over the last few years, again, like partially from the pandemic, like again, $25,000 a year, that's like that's an average. It's probably lower sometimes, honestly, but during the pandemic, because we got, money from the federal government to kind of like help even some stuff out, I was able to ease off a little bit of how much I made, and I was actually able to max out my Roth IRA for like 2 years in a row from that, which is great. But yeah, for the most part, I think there are ways that I could increase that, and again, this is a little bit more kind of to that question of like long-term savings techniques, because $25,000 a year is not enough to live on, like realistically. Like because of my circumstances, I don't feel poor, but looking at those numbers, I know that's like poor, right?
You as a person brings in a low-class amount of money.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Technically, I do too, but like I have the backing and family that like has enough wealth to like make me not low-class anymore. Yeah. But if I was a person by myself.
Yeah. Well, also class and income are also kind of different things too.
Yeah, they're related, but they're different. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
you can be Kanye and hella money, but Kanye.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah. even with that money though, like I still have like a ton of family privilege because like my mom has the job at the university. She's not, I feel kind of weird to say, but like she's not necessarily the most, this is not just true for my mom, but kind of true for everybody, but it's like everyone's kind of like one health crisis away from being like well and truly f***ed.
Oh yeah.
But my dad, like my dad worked for the Senate for like most of his career. Or for the good, like, latter half of his career. So it's, like, financially, he's fine. So between my mom and my dad and the really morbid fact that I'm the only sibling, or the only child now because my sister passed away, and most of my other family is, like, middle class or, like, upper middle class, I would say, I'm in the weird position where I have a bit more of a safety blanket than a lot of people do. So it's, like, it's a weird tension because I know that realistically, my long-term security, unless I do something different with unless I find another way to like get more income and get like overall more financial stability for things like healthcare and like retirement and stuff, my life is super unstable. But I'm lucky enough that like my partner, you know, again, Cody and I aren't married yet, but it's like, he's got a job at the state. His job is super secure. Like, I'll be covered under his health care. He'll have a like an official retirement plan beyond Social Security because honestly, Social Security may not be around, and even as it is now, is not enough to fully support people in their retirement age if they're not still working.
Because inflation is high, bro.
Yeah.
They don't account for inflation. And then they're like, what happened? And we're like, you made everything more expensive, but you didn't give us more of the expense.
Yep. There's a lot of reasons why we are in this situation, socially, societally.
It's more intricate than I make it sound, but that...
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like that is kind of like a large portion of it, is what I just said.
Yeah. It's just... Yeah, there's not enough to keep up with the demands of living, especially like in an expensive state like California. So I don't make a lot of money. I feel periodically crippled by the anxiety of being one healthcare crisis away from being well and truly f***ed, because I basically saw that happen with my mom when she developed her neurological condition and couldn't work, basically. Like, she was able to start like or continue teaching, but like she had her whole ass other career as a children's entertainer and then developed a neurological condition that made her not able to do that. We lost the house that again was going to be that generational wealth to make my life more secure. Not that it's all about me, but like to make our lives and our family lives in general more secure. Like, we lost all that. Yeah. And it's weird because there's like, in terms of when I think about how I'm going to have security in my life, because it's something it's part of the reason I take anti-anxiety and antidepressants, is because like life is really unstable, and that's coming from someone who has a lot of privilege. Like, I have that family wealth that's like provides that safety net. But anyway, all things considered, I don't make a lot of money, but the security that I have in my life will partially come from my partner, which is kind of messed up to say. I'd like to get to the point where I am more stable on my own.
Yo, same though. We kind of f***ed our way up the ladder.
Oh my god, you're kind of true.
We kind of f***ed our way up the ladder.
Oh my god, yeah.
I for sure did.
Yeah. And see, I have the thing where I'm like bringing a dowry in a really weird way.
A dowry?
But yeah, like, you know what a dowry is?
Yeah, but doesn't the father usually supply the other guy, it's usually a guy,
yes,
with a dowry just for trade of a vagina?
Yes. And I sort of have that in like a kind of like a weird reverse way, because again, this is like messed up, but like when my dad passes away, which, you know, knock on wood, is not for a very long time, but it's like I will be able to inherit some of that like familial wealth. So it's like I don't make a lot of money right now, and a lot of the stability will ultimately come sort of from Cody as I build up to that stability.
Are you saying you're a goose egg?
What's a goose egg?
Just waiting to hatch.
No.
Cody's just waiting just waiting to hatch you. And then all of that goose money gonna come at you. You're a golden egg.
I guess. Oh, I mean, but he's gonna be the one. Like,
think he loves you?
Yeah, he does.
You're a golden egg, Lindsey.
Oh my god. I don't have that kind of family wealth. I have like middle class family wealth, but I don't have like proper golden goose wealth.
Private island.
No. God, no. No. So it's like, it's weird though, man, because it's like,
I think this is a millennial problem.
Yeah.
Because like the previous generation at least had leftover wealth from the boomers, who had a lot of wealth in the positive items.
Yeah.
You know, and then like the Gen Xers. By the way, Gen Xers, stop it. We get it. You drank from the hose and went outside. Stop messaging me. My mom's like, we were the cool generation. I'm like, I get it. You want to be hippies, but you weren't hippies.
Oh, yeah.
But also, you want to play video games with us, but you don't know how to play. I get it. You're in the middle. My mom won't shut up on being a Gen Xer.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and Gen Xers clearly had like a little bit left over. Mm-hmm. But like millennials and Gen Z are truly like, it's not that I don't bring value to the table, it's that value isn't there to be acquired anymore. Because it was gotten by all the, by my predecessors. And so like, yeah, like, remember that, where'd we go, Francica? Right.
In Cincinnati?
I kept on saying these houses are super nice.
Oh, yeah.
But they look like they were left over by people who had money and understood how to take care of a house and had the infrastructure and people to take care of a nice house like that.
Yeah.
And then they just gave them to, like, millennials. And they were like, we don't know how to take care of this.
I feel like it's less we don't know how, more like we don't have the resources.
That's fair. Yeah. And but they were like bigger than my house. Dang. They were like 2 and 3 stories. The one we stayed in was damn near a mansion.
That place was really nice.
It had a pool table in its second kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. But it was just like, the people who actually lived in them, you're like, you're not taking care of that house. That house is dilapidated. It was so strange to me. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I feel generationally, is that like, I have enough work ethic and value to bring something to the table, but there's not enough value to pick up and put anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to rebuild my house when the cost of wood is so expensive? I want to build a second story in my house. It costs more than making a new house. It's wild.
That's crazy.
It's an insane amount of money to, like, build a second story.
Yeah.
And most of us are renters, and it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make this a generational thing.
No, I mean, I think
it's true.
It is. Like, I think there is the wider economic picture to look at for sure. Like, we are microcosms of it, but it's a part of it. And, like, I also feel the weird thing of, like, I remember when I was in, I don't know, like, high school and, like, early college years where I would go to artists that I would see, like, at pop-ups and stuff, and I'd ask her, and I was like, oh, like, how are you able to make the money that you do? Like, how are you able to make a living?
Right.
And basically all of them said that their partner provides the stable income.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting because for a really long time, I really put a lot of value on bucking that trend. Like, I wanted to be the artist who could do it completely by themselves.
Yeah.
But at the same time now, it's like, well, realistically, like, so for instance, my family, my uncle is like an award-winning composer. Like, he's worked with like National Geographic, like with the, big organizations in San Francisco. Like, he's amazing, right? He's done amazing work. And his health insurance comes from his wife. So it's like, it's weird because I feel like I'm wrestling with this thing of like the gender thing of like, oh, I am afraid of being that stereotypical like wife who just does pottery on the side and my husband brings in all the money.
That is a stereotype, yeah.
But it's also like I'm looking at why I have that negative association anyway and why that, like, I don't know. It's like, because that stereotype is something that I judged really harshly, and I don't think I think there's more to that picture than how I first judged. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, but there's definitely and I know I harken on this all the time, but there's definitely a historical reason why a certain type of person is known for being within a certain type of sector. Like, if you took some type of sample size of 1,000 potters and you put them all in the room, it's gonna skew towards one way or the other. And there's a very clear historical reason as to why it stereotypically is that way. I'm trying to be nice about it, but I feel like you guys know what I'm talking about.
No, yeah. I mean, I think in particular, my biggest association with that is like economic privilege.
Yes.
And a lot of that economic privilege is really closely tied in with racial privilege.
100%, yeah. And yeah, I can agree to that. And on top of that, it's who just kind of had more time, if that makes sense. Like, the biggest gatekeepers of pottery in and of themselves are space, time, money. Yeah. And whichever group has those in plethora, even though we all feel like we don't have enough, but clearly some groups have more than others, whoever has the majority of that has the ability to express themselves physically, emotionally, even financially. And because of that, there's a group of people who essentially, like, I have enough time to just try out pottery. Yeah. I have an extra 5 G's laying around to buy a new wheel and a new this and some glazes and a seat and some shelves. And I just try it out. And I love you guys. I love them so much. You know why I love them, Lindsay?
Why?
Because when they give up in 3 months, when they give up in 3 months because they figure out it's hard and you can't just buy all your problems away, I come in there and I swoop that kiln up, baby. I swoop that kiln up. I swoop that wheel up. You're mad at me right now. But tell me that kiln ain't unused for 2 months in your garage right now. Yeah. It be your own.
I love it.
I love it. But I get the idealism of being a mountain unto itself, in which you're so stable. If your safety net left, you'd be like,
I'd still be okay.
You'd still be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a realistic picture because we're very social animals and we need a safety net in order to feel some sense of comfort in like the hierarchy of needs. That triangle, the hierarchy of needs.
Yes, right? It has to do with like having, it's like what, health, shelter.
Yes.
I can't remember. Yeah, there's like 5.
It's like food, physical touch.
Yeah.
It's something, I feel like I could look it up right now, but that'd be cheating. But like, yeah, there's things you need.
I think it's Maslow's, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
I believe so.
Okay, I am going to look it up, even if it's cheating.
I always want to say Mavlov's, but I feel like I'm mixing the word Pavlov and Maslow.
Okay, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This is from canadacollege.edu, says, from the bottom of the hierarchy upwards, the needs are, these are your physiological needs like food, air, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, and reproduction. Then there are...
Damn, that's on the bottom level? That's wild.
No, bottom level meaning like this is like the foundation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's like stuff you need before you do the other stuff, probably.
Yes. And then, so those are physiological needs.
You heard it first, folks. Clapping cheeks is before the other stuff.
Oh my god. Then there's safety needs, which includes personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. Then there's love and belonging, which is friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. Then esteem, which is respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom. And then at the top is self-actualization, which is the desire to become the most that one can be. So
Damn, level 5 is crazy. Level 5 is basically being enlightened.
Dude, no, level 5 is like that top level is level 5 is like ideally that's where everybody should be able to be, because it's like if we had those kinds of social safety nets so that you didn't have to essentially be a wage slave.
Yes.
Then like society would be better. People would be happier, like overall things, but again, this is just...
What's crazy is I feel like that pyramid is mixed for a lot of people. Because like, I feel like the bottom level, we'll call it level 1, it should be base. Yeah. Should be base.
And those are physiological needs.
Everyone should have those, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like number 2 and 3 and 4 are a little switched for me. You know what I mean? Like,
esteem and love and belonging?
Well, look level 2.
So it's physiological needs and then safety needs. Safety needs includes personal security, employment, resources, health, and property.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can find level 3, try and get level 3, which is the community and this feeling of belonging.
Yeah.
Like on the internet. Like,
sure, yeah.
Like online communities, literally.
Yeah.
And then like number 2, I could skip number 2.
Well, no, because number 2 includes like when it says health.
I could skip number 2.
Property?
I could skip
you have property.
I have property, but I used to not have that. But I tell you what, I do got a Discord channel, and they make me feel good whether or not I have a house.
Yes, no, for sure. It's not like this thing isn't like you can't have A, you can't have B without A. You just, but it's like the tiers of Anyway. All right. So now that we've fully established that late stage capitalism is a nightmare, let's talk about healthcare. So you want to go over again what you would, just to kind of like clarify and remind our listeners like how you deal with healthcare?
I get my healthcare through Covered California because my job started charging me a little too much for healthcare. They damn near doubled it. Mm-hmm. So me and my buddy at work, his name's Andrew, great guy. He told me one day, he was like, how much do you make a day from working here? And I told him, and he's like, theoretically, you could just take a day off of work and make pottery and do videos instead, or like teach pottery classes, and you would make more money not working for that day if you got Covered California. Mm-hmm. And I was, did the math, and I was like, oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
I was like, I could get paid for working one less day and still get the same health coverage.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do now. I have Covered California. I take a day off to teach pottery classes.
Are you under Medi-Cal, or are you under
I'm under Medi-Cal. Because Medicare is a different thing, I think.
Yeah, so Medi-Cal, because I'm on Medi-Cal, And Medi-Cal is essentially like poor people insurance,
yes.
health insurance. So it's you are no longer eligible for Medi-Cal if you're at a certain income level.
Yeah.
Because Covered California, essentially, my understanding is that it allows you to get government subsidized healthcare, but like some people still have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Like if your income is above a certain level, you have to pay for...
Well, I pay like $20 a month for it.
Oh, okay.
So I still pay for it.
Yeah.
It's just, and that $20 is made up. Any lawyers who are trying to snipe me right now, that $20 is made. I don't know how much I actually pay, but I do pay for Covered California.
Okay, but it's not like free. But it's not like hundreds of.
It's not $140 a paycheck. That's for damn sure. The awful thing is that I needed to get health insurance for me, my wife, and my baby, my stay-at-home wife, and I was like, "How much is that?" And it was like $400 a paycheck. And I was like, that's half my damn paycheck. And they're like, well, we're covering 3 people. And one's a baby.
Yeah.
And you are not healthy. And I was like, okay, all right. So what do I He sees me drinking 2 Red Bulls at once and mixing it with pre-workout. And he's like, you are dying soon. So insuring you is expensive.
Okay, so you do pay some.
I pay some, but it's not anywhere near. It's damn near free.
Okay, and under Medi-Cal, you are able to get that coverage for yourself, your wife, Abel, and your young'un.
Well, I just got this doesn't apply to anybody anymore, but I got into a program where they basically said if you have a kid, you have a special exemption because we're clearly going to give a baby health care.
Yeah.
Under the state of California, we're not going to leave our citizens like that. And you clearly need health care to take care of the baby. Mm-hmm. So you all get health care. And I was like, oh, they're like, you still got to pay underneath the normal rules. Mm-hmm. We're just letting you into an old system because you have a child.
Nice. Okay.
And I had to jump through a bunch of hoops to do that. But like, it was worth it because now we're all covered.
Nice.
I think every year I have to like re-up.
Yeah.
And I think it stops once she's 18, but I'm not sure. Once they're adults, they don't care.
Yeah. The only thing I pay towards my healthcare is in my taxes. So, yeah. But in terms of like a separate fee specifically for healthcare, I don't pay anything. I don't pay a copay. And it's awesome because when I got my tubes tied, all of that was covered under my insurance.
You got yours tied?
Well, no. I mean, they call it getting your tubes tied. Technically, it was a endoscopic bilateral salpingectomy.
You got yours tied? I got mine cut. I think what they did is they took mine out.
No, they took mine out too.
But then they tied yours?
No.
At the end?
No.
They didn't tie yours?
No.
They just cut them?
They cut out and they removed the whole thing. Also...
And they soldered them?
Yeah.
They soldered mine too.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So... I will probably, once Cody and I get married, I will most likely get onto his healthcare plan because I would like to establish a like long-term relationship with a doctor. Because right now it's like my healthcare, like my primary care physician is like a physician's assistant. He's not like a doctor. So it would be nice to have to be able to develop a long-term relationship with a doctor for my life through healthcare that is not going to change, so, but again, we'll see how that goes.
My doctor also, I picked my doctor, and whenever I go, I'm like, I want this doctor.
Yeah.
Because the other doctors are always like, how's your home life? Are you stressed? Are you depressed? No. My doctor's like, you're lifting weights wrong. And I'm like, how do you know? He goes, your back looks up.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, he goes, deadlifting, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, oh, he lifts weights too.
Nice.
And so he's just like, do it right. And I'm like, okay. He goes, you still having trouble sleeping? I was like, yeah, but I have a baby, so it's not like I can sleep through the night anyway. He goes, okay, so you don't need sleeping pills. I'm like, no. He goes, do you want to lose weight? And I was like, yeah. He goes, okay, well, eat more vegetables and move more. Like, eat less, move more.
Yeah.
And I go, okay. And then he, like, smacks me on the butt, and I get out of there.
Love it.
Yeah, the other ones are like, do you need orthopedics? Oh. Does your left arm still hurt?
Left arm? That's some heart attack right there.
No, it's the joint in the left arm. Yeah, no, it's old man shit. It's not, yeah.
I know,
I got rid of the other thing that causes heart attacks.
That's good.
That's gone.
That's good. Yeah. Okay, so that's healthcare.
That's okay. What are the two other things?
So the 2 things that we have left to cover are retirement and then our savings techniques. And they're kind of mixed, to be honest. So what's your approach to planning for retirement?
I don't have those. Tell me yours.
You do.
I don't have those.
You do.
Die young.
We were literally... We were talking about Roth IRAs. So, okay, I guess I'll go through mine and then I'll ask you more about yours.
Oh, I do have a... Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, so I have 2... ways essentially of thinking about retirement.
Okay.
Overall, I don't feel like they're enough because it's terrifying. So
because
inflation, yeah. So on one hand, again, assuming my partner and I get married, like his job, because he works for the state, provides a pretty good retirement, all things considered. Also, Social Security is still mostly functioning.
Wobbly.
Yeah. So my primary way that I'm planning for retirement right now is by setting up a Roth IRA. And again, there's like different ways of managing, like, because there's a regular IRA, then there's the Roth IRA, which is basically you get taxed before you put your money in.
Yes.
So when you pull that out later, you are not taxed on that money. And it's essentially you put the money in the account, you invest that money, and then ideally over time things grow, you get the returns on investment basically. But the thing
I have that one.
Okay, so you have a Roth IRA as well.
Yeah. But my job matches so it's a Roth IRA, a matching Roth IRA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does your job choose how that money gets invested?
As far as I know, they just keep it for me. I don't know anything beyond that. They pretty much said, we're going to put $80 in there a month as long as you put $80 in there a month.
Okay. That still sounds like a 401k to me, dude.
Maybe.
I think that might be a 401k.
I'm so sure they call it a Roth IRA, but if I went up to her tomorrow and she was like, no, stupid. It's a 401k, I'd be like, you know what? I have money in my name somewhere, so f it.
Okay. Well, it might be worth double checking on that because the thing and again, this is coming from a background where like my dad got his like master's degree in economics, so he's obsessed with this shit, and he has mostly been the one educating me about like investment, and there's still a lot that I don't know, and I'm very much a beginner on this stuff, but it would be worth looking at whether you have the Roth IRA or the 401k. Like, it's good that your employer is matching.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, sometimes it is better if you manage the investment as opposed to your employer.
Yeah.
Just because of, like, where you invest and what kind of potential returns you could get. And I'm not necessarily talking about, like, day trading.
Yeah.
But it's, like, the whole idea of, like, do you invest in the S&P 500 or do you invest in, like, Apple and Google and Netflix and, you know, all these other things. So when I'm looking at like long-term retirement plans, that's something that I want to learn more about. But in general, like, that's kind of my primary plan for retirement. But the thing that still like bothers me about that is that, like, because you can only put a max of, I think, about $6,000 a year into your Roth IRA.
There's a max, yeah.
Yeah. So knowing that, it's kind of like, at what, like, even if I were to get to, because right now I have, I have about $30,000 in my Roth IRA. It, like, between my Roth IRA and then my personal investments account, which is like separate from my Roth IRA.
It's like 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got about 30,000 in mine, but I'm kind of like, how do I get to the point where the money that I'm able to get when I'm at a retirement age is enough for me to live comfortably?
Oh, I see.
Because even if I got, you know, 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000, 500,000, like, how many years, if I stop working when I'm, what is the retirement age now? 65 and a half or something? 66?
For the sake of argument, let's say it's 69.
60. Nice. So, like, how am I going to be able to get the amount of money that I need to live 20 years without working outside
and
of
pass
that?
it down to whoever you need to. Like, the thing I worry about is, like, giving it to Astrid.
Yes, that's because that's a whole other thing. Because again, I don't have kids, and I'm not planning on having kids. So tell me how you and Abel, because Abel has retirement, or is gonna have retirement when she starts working again, right?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad sooner or later, so I'm just gonna be a full-time potter in like a year and a half.
Nice.
Yeah, Abel's like, I'm gonna go back to work, and you're gonna be a stay-at-home dad, and I'm like, I will.
Hell yeah.
It's clean. The whole house is going to be clean.
I believe it.
Me and the baby are going to clean for an hour a day.
Yep.
And then we're going to go to the park, and we're going to slap a squirrel around.
Don't slap squirrels. That's mean. So one last thing I guess that I'll say, too, this is just kind of in general talking about, like, familial privilege as well that kind of has to do with retirement, is that, like, I have both my mom and my dad, privileged white people, worked in white-collar jobs, basically, and are made enough to be able to provide generational wealth to me when they pass, which
is important.
Hopefully not for a very long time, because I would much rather have my parents around than money. But that is like a kind of like an element to that. So you, from Abel's family, you guys have some of that privilege as well. And then you were talking about having...
Abel has a lot more of it than I do, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So when you think about how to, like, pass that down to Abel, or to Astrid, you doubt it.
I mean, I just, you know, I have, like, a list, and, like, Astrid's at the top of that list. So, like, if I gotta burn someone's house down to make sure my kid stays alive and healthy, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sounds about right.
Shouldn't have lived that long. I don't know what to say. Like, I get, like, and so in that same aspect, it's like, I don't like being, I'm not on board with the mentality of as long as it makes money, do it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not fully on board with that mentality.
Sure, yeah.
Because I was talking to you earlier about it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, with aspects to the art world, I suppose, but, like, I do have to admit that that's further, it's a slippery slope argument, but further down the line, like, that's how our oppressors think.
Yeah.
You know, like, as long as it makes money, do it. Yeah. I don't care at what cost. It makes me money. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Just do it.
Yeah.
And so I can't get fully behind the motto of, like, well, as long as it makes money, it, man. I can't. Because, like, that's how the bad guys think. But they're at a different level than we are.
Yeah.
But they did start out at our level at some point. So we do have to keep that in mind.
Yes. No, that's true.
Like, you know, and I know it is a slippery slope argument, and those are automatically fallacious. But I also don't want to live in a world where... I also don't want to admit I don't live in a world where, like, that has and does happen all the time.
Yeah.
The slippery slope often becomes true if you let it slip enough. Mm. So I do want to hand my daughter down a large enough amount of money, keep her knowledgeable enough about work ethic and how to work her environment enough to keep her safe and happy and healthy. But it's hard to toe the line between that and be like, whatever it takes, you know, like, whatever makes money, I'm doing it, you know? And so I feel like my daughter is very much the grease to that wheel, because when my daughter's involved, I'm like, yeah, whoever's gotta die. Whoever's gotta die, dies.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro. You know, like, whatever happens. It ain't mine. I don't care.
Yeah.
But outside of that realm, I'm just keeping myself circumscribed within, like, a certain line in order to make sure that I make enough money to pass down to my daughter. Yeah. And if that's through pottery or overworking myself or doing Patreon or YouTube or anything like that, like, that's what I'm doing right now. So almost all the income that I'm making right now, I'm either putting away or spending on, like, bills. Yeah. Essentially. There's no in between. I don't go on vacations. You get that boba though. I do get that boba. We get that meat, but those are like normal levels of like barely normal. It's a lot of boba. It's a lot of boba. Actually, in a past life, I was the president of a whole nation, and the way they took me down is by poisoning my boba. Actually. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Because it was the easiest way to kill me. Mm-hmm. Knives didn't work. So yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope that our listeners have found this helpful. You know, I mean, I think it's a little difficult talking about this stuff because it is kind of grim to some degree, like talking about how unstable a lot of things are and how it's difficult to piece your world together in a way as an artist if you're working full time so that you're keeping yourself safe. And I often vacillate between like encouraging people to get into the arts. There's ways to make money in the arts. There's ways to do it, and also reconcile that with the fact that we are in a economic and social structure that does not provide a lot of safety if things go wrong. Yeah. So it's difficult, but I hope that by hearing this, like, the main thing that I wanted to do in kind of covering all of this is, like, if you're someone who is thinking about doing art full time, or you're just like wondering, like, how do people do it? Like, it's not just about, oh, I use my bullet journal every day, or I plan things really well. It's like, no, there's a lot of different things that go into it. And for me personally, like, I still struggle really often with figuring out how I'm going to be safe and secure long term. And I'm figuring out the best I can, and I'm like, again, I'm lucky enough to have that safety blanket, or a safety net rather, and a safety blanket, that I'm able to take the time to explore those options and not have to just work myself to death all the time. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of that was my approach to this episode, and I hope that people found it helpful. Yeah, I think if I were to paint a very broad brushstroke, the only real thing that we're doing here is we're trying to buy us and our loved ones, and to some extent the human race, time but it's getting real expensive.
Yeah.
Time is an ever-inflating item on the market, and I'm just trying to make enough money to buy myself enough time, to buy my kids more time, to buy my friends and family more time. Mm-hmm. And it's why I'm not very into like the like expensive things. Like I don't have nice things, but I don't have nice things because I'm trying to make sure the people around me have nice things.
Yeah, well, because you got a house also. That's one very big nice thing.
Yeah.
Like
also at some level, and I know this is far off, but like if you have enough things, you start to realize your things own you. You don't own your things. If that makes sense. If you buy a car, the car takes maintenance, but you don't have that issue. You don't have car maintenance.
Right.
Because you don't have a car. Mm-hmm. But if you had a car, you'd have money for car maintenance.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you wouldn't have a good car.
Yeah.
You'd have a broken down car. So every single thing that I get or I buy, I want to be very low maintenance, and that kind of comes into the cost of my studio. Yeah. My kiln, my wheel, they're going to take maintenance. And if I had multiple kilns, it's multiple maintenance. And it's if one breaks down, I use the other one. But if that one breaks down, I have to replace those. And, your things own you if you don't know or understand how to work them properly or take care of them. And you're either going to spend a gob of money having someone else take care of them, or you're going to have a knowledge base to be, like we were talking earlier, like a mountain on its own. Just kind of like, I'm stable on my own, thank you. Yeah. And that takes a lot of time, which you have to buy. Yep. Which you have to buy more of.
Yeah. All right.
Good?
Good.
That was hard.
And scene. Kiln plug.
Kiln plug before we go.
Okay.
You first. I freaked her out real quick.
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
You know what?
Them motherfuckers can't deny. When a girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face, we meet patriarchy.
The people in the big butts video didn't even have big butts. Compared to what we got now, them were normal people.
That's true. Yeah. Anyway, Kiln plug. Sorry, I literally couldn't think of anything for a second. By the time you're listening to this, my spooky season Halloween shop update will have gone live. So head over to lindseymdillon.com to see what I have. And if you missed the early access, or if you missed even hearing about this, then sign up for my newsletter. Because sometimes when I am desperately running out of time and I don't advertise things on my social media, I will always send out a newsletter to let people know when updates are happening. And I may not always do this, but for this particular update, I did an early access thing. So newsletter subscribers got access to the shop a day before, because it was Friday the 13th in October. Like, I had to do something. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So have a look, and that's my most recent Kiln plug.
My shop update went live about 5 days ago. Mm-hmm. I feel really bad because I told everybody that was going to be on October 1st.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got 50 people who visited the website. It tells me 50 people visited your website.
Oh, no.
And I think they saw there's nothing up there.
Oh, it hadn't gone up yet?
No, because I told everybody on Facebook and Instagram that we're going to let it breathe for a couple days. Because the person who was helping me do the website was going through some stuff.
Gotcha.
And she was like, I just need a day or two, please. And I was like, yeah, I'm not cold-hearted,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, things change. But yeah, I by that time, I think the previous podcast episode that said that the update was going to be on the 1st had gone up. So anyway.
It's okay. But my patrons definitely got first pick already.
Nice.
But for everyone else who visited and was like, it's gone, it's not gone. It was just a day or so late. And it is now live, and that is going to be the holiday sale. So everything has a little bit of money taken off. I know Lindsay hates it, but it's a little bit taken off. It's a tiny bit taken off. Nothing's over 60 unless it's a set of stuff.
So this is your update. That's not only for Halloween, but also for all of the winter holidays.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're not going to be.
I'm not doing Halloween.
Right.
This is for October, the next month, and December. I forgot that month.
November.
Thank you. And December, and then on January we're probably gonna do another one. I'm already working on that.
Oh, okay. But if you're
listening to this now, my store update is live.
Okay, so if people want to buy Christmas gifts,
yes,
you now is the time to buy it, because you're not going to be adding anything new to the store between now and Christmas.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I did more items than usual. So
nice.
I did 50, and usually I do 30 or 40 at a time.
Cool.
On top of that, you and I are both going to be at ClayCon West.
Yes, and that is in January. We have to buy the tickets for it after we
record this. Yeah. We're also going to SAC Anime.
We're going to SAC Anime.
Not together, but together.
Yes.
And we'll both be there.
Yes.
Hunt me down. I have a little treat for you, maybe.
And that is in the first weekend in January 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Church, true.
And, I forgot. I'm going to be doing like a separate like December update, probably in the first or second weekend in December, so keep an eye out on that. And let me know, dear listeners, if you want a made-to-order update, because to be honest, they're kind of a hassle to do, and I wasn't planning on doing one. And if you don't know what they are, it's essentially, it's my way to be like, okay, out of all the designs that I've made, you can design, or you can have a specific mug made, choosing from the options of designs I've already made. So you can, for instance, like you could ask for a Stein shape with a alien face hugger design on it in the red glaze, right? So you can order that. I was originally not going to do that update because, again, it's like balancing that with a regular holiday update, and then the SAC Anime update was kind of a lot. But if you have a very specific design that you are wanting to order and you don't want to take the chance, anyway, let me know if it's really important to you to make a made-to-order, or to have a made-to-order update available, because I'm deciding on whether I'm going to have one, and I'm leaning towards not, but if people really want one, and I will listen to you, so let me know.
I'm not doing that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm not. No.
That's
sorry.
fine. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I want to offer a made update for you. I do, but like, no.
We only got so much time.
We only got so much time.
We only have so many spoons.
And Amico just ran out of their ancient copper, and I'm trying to go on my Discord and get a bunch of people to help me redevelop it.
Ooh.
We have a couple recipes up there. If you want to be part of that, go ahead. I think I'm going to make a new title on Discord of like glaze tester.
Ooh,
and make
fun.
them their own glaze tester room. So we can all get together and be like, all right, here's what we're doing. If anybody wants to test this in their kiln mode, go ahead. And we can just like a little tiny glazy group. You know what I mean? Take pictures and whatnot. Glazy. Yeah, but I'm not going to stop my glaze development to do a made to order.
That's very fair. That's very fair. That's very fair.
You pick one. You want ancient copper back? Or do you want another mug? All right, that's what I thought.
Okay,
then.
All right.
Go clean your room.
Yeah, go clean your room.
And your wheel.
Bring in the dog and put out the cat. Yakety yak. Don't talk bye.
I feel like you know so many songs I don't know.
I know so many songs. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Mud Peddlers. We would love to hear from you, so if you want to share your thoughts about the episodes or just see what Donte and I are working on in our studios, come say hi. You can find links to my social media at lindseymdillon.com. That's LINDSEY, M as in monster, DILLON.com.
And you can visit my pottery shop or see what I'm working on at earthnationceramics.com. And you can find me all over social media at Earth Nation Ceramics. It's spelled exactly how you think it's spelled.
And if you want to support the show, hear some bonus episodes, and see some behind the scenes of my work, you can support me and the show at patreon.com/Lindsey M Dillon. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.